Well, so that's an interesting question, right? So just sort of what's out there that's weird or interesting. I did a book called The Penguin Book of Exorcism. And when I did that book, it's Penguin does these anthologies of historical sources. So I'm looking for texts about describing exorcisms from throughout history, and I wanted to try to find stuff that nobody had ever really seen before, or that was hard to find. Because if you actually pay money for my book, I want you to get something that you couldn't just find on the internet or something like that. So some of those were pretty interesting. So one was an exorcism that happened in 1906 in South Africa, and it was these nuns who were missionaries, and they were running a school. And one of the girls of the school became possessed. She was actually from the Zulu people of South Africa, but she was being given a Western education at the school. And these nuns wrote this document saying she floats about 5 feet in the air for hours at a time, and we all grab her and we all try to pull her down, and we can't, right? Something is stopping us from pulling her down. And it said the other weird thing is that when she floats, her clothes don't just hang off of her body, the clothes float too. So the nuns didn't have the vocabulary to describe this, but it sounded almost like there was some kind of anti-gravity effect, right, going on around this girl. And they just wrote this, report about, this possessed girl back to Germany. Um, and the thing about the text is the only options I can think of to explain what they're describing is these nuns were just lying their butts off, right? And nothing remotely like this actually happened, or I have no explanation, right? I have found cases where people said that someone levitated during a possession, and a skeptic came in and said, well, no, actually, they were kind of just like flopping very vigorously. It was very athletic, but they were kind of more like doing this dance move called the worm. It wasn't actually levitation. But to say someone was 5 feet in the air and we tried to pull her down for an hour and we couldn't, I'm really baffled. It doesn't seem like a group of nuns would just tell a big whopper like that. But I struggle to come up with a more plausible explanation. So there's one thing I say to my students a lot was I wasn't there. I wasn't there when these things happened. So I'm cautious about passing judgment about what we can actually know when people describe things that are supposed to be impossible.